They laughed openly when the papers were signed. Some shook their heads in pity, others in quiet amusement, as if they were watching a man willingly throw his life away. The ranch was old, forgotten, sunburned by decades of neglect, its fences leaning like tired bones and its land dismissed as worthless. But as he stood there with dust on his boots and hope buried deep in his chest, he felt something no one else could see. And no one knew that the laughter echoing behind him would one day fall silent when black cars rolled up the dirt road and powerful executives stepped out, asking for him by name. Before the story goes any further, take a moment to pause. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet strength of people who refuse to give up, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to channel name. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. He had not always dreamed of owning land. Life had taught him to dream smaller, safer dreams. After years of working jobs that barely paid enough to keep the lights on, after watching opportunities slip through his fingers one by one, he had learned to expect disappointment. His savings were thin, his past heavy with mistakes, and his future uncertain. When the listing for the ranch appeared, most people scrolled past it without a second glance. Old ranch, remote location, poor soil, no modern facilities. But something about it stopped him. Perhaps it was the way the land looked stubborn rather than dead, or maybe it was simply the feeling that this place, like him, had been judged too quickly. The day he visited the ranch, the wind carried the smell of dry grass and rusted iron. The house stood crooked, its paint peeling like old scars, its roof patched so many times it told a story of survival rather than comfort. The barn doors creaked in protest, and weeds pushed through cracks in the ground as if fighting to stay alive. Anyone else would have seen decay. He saw endurance. He walked the land slowly, letting the silence settle around him, imagining what it might have been like decades ago when laughter and hard work filled the air. In that quiet, he felt a strange sense of belonging, as if the land recognized him. Friends tried to talk him out of it. Family worried he was making a terrible mistake. Even the seller looked surprised that anyone wanted it at all. When he finally bought it, using nearly everything he had saved, the news spread quickly. People laughed in diners and at gas stations, calling it a foolish gamble, a desperate move by a man who had run out of options. Some said he would be back in the city within a year, broke and embarrassed. He heard the rumors, but he kept going. The first months were brutal. The well barely worked, the house leaked when it rained, and the land resisted every attempt to be productive. His hands blistered and bled as he repaired fences and cleared debris. Nights were long and lonely, filled with doubts that crept in when exhaustion took over. There were moments when he sat on the porch, staring out at the dark land, wondering if the laughter had been justified. But each morning, he got up again. He reminded himself that nothing worth having came easily, and that he had already survived worse than this. What kept him going was not a clear plan or guaranteed success, but a quiet determination rooted in dignity. He treated the land with respect, learning its rhythms, studying its history, and paying attention to details others had ignored. He noticed patterns in the soil, unusual rock formations, and areas where vegetation grew differently. These observations did not mean much at first, but they fueled his curiosity. He began reading old records, visiting local archives, and talking to elderly residents who remembered stories about the ranch from long ago. Many of those stories were dismissed as rumors, half-forgotten tales of failed ventures and abandoned dreams. As time passed, small changes began to appear. Grass grew thicker in certain areas after he adjusted how water flowed across the land. Animals returned slowly, cautiously. The ranch no longer felt completely abandoned. Still, money remained tight, and setbacks continued. A storm destroyed weeks of work. Equipment broke down when he could least afford repairs. There were nights when hunger and worry sat beside him like unwanted guests. But the laughter from others no longer mattered as much. He had made a commitment, and he intended to see it through. The turning point did not come with fireworks or sudden wealth. It arrived quietly, disguised as another challenge. While digging to repair an old structure, he uncovered something unusual beneath the surface. At first, he thought it was just another problem, another reminder of the ranch's troubled past. But the deeper he looked, the more questions arose. He sought advice, not from people who had laughed at him, but from experts willing to listen. Samples were taken. Tests were run. Weeks passed in tense uncertainty. When the results came back, they changed everything. The land that had been dismissed as worthless held potential no one had seriously explored in decades. What had once been considered failure was now revealed as opportunity. Word traveled quickly, this time not as a joke but as a rumor filled with disbelief. And then, one morning, the black cars appeared at the edge of the ranch, their polished surfaces stark against the dust and sun. Executives arrived in tailored suits, their expressions serious, their questions direct. They walked the land with a focus that mirrored the care he had shown from the beginning. Suddenly, the old ranch was no longer a punchline. It was an asset. Offers were hinted at, possibilities discussed, futures reconsidered. People who had laughed now watched from a distance, trying to understand how everything had changed so fast. But the truth was, it had not changed quickly at all. It had changed slowly, through patience, resilience, and faith in something others could not see. He did not rush into decisions. The land had taught him the value of time and respect. He negotiated carefully, thinking not just about profit but about legacy. He remembered the nights of doubt, the mornings of exhaustion, and the quiet moments when he had almost given up. When agreements were finally made, they did more than secure his financial future. They validated his belief that worth is not always obvious, and that laughter often comes from fear of being wrong. In the aftermath, life did not become perfect. Success brought new challenges, new responsibilities, and new pressures. But it also brought peace. He repaired the house properly, restored parts of the ranch, and ensured that its story would not be reduced to a single moment of discovery. He invested in the community, supporting others who struggled as he once had. The land that had been mocked became a symbol of perseverance, a reminder that judgment without understanding can blind people to possibility. As the sun set over the ranch one evening, painting the sky in quiet colors, he stood where he had first felt that strange sense of belonging. The laughter was gone, replaced by respect, but more importantly, by self-respect. He had trusted himself when no one else did. He had listened to the land, to his instincts, and to the quiet voice that told him not to walk away.